Hi guys, hello and welcome to another C Sharp tutorial, object-oriented programming with C Sharp. In the previous tutorial, just for your understanding, I used the word property and member. Now I'm giving you an official word that is used in C Sharp because some of you are coming from Java world, so it's a slightly different way of doing things. But anyway, we call this a field. That's the official word, field. Field is not the same as property in C Sharp, as I explained to you. So right now what I've done over here is I've done for you something very similar to what we have learned in Java programming, that we have a setter and a getter method for a what we used to call property in Java, which is called field over here, that the setter method receives a parameter and assigns that to the field, and then the getter method returns the value of the field back, exactly like the way it is in Java, for example. And then what we will do is we will take this exact same example and we will then modify it to introduce the concept of properties in C. One other change that I will make in the employee class is to get rid of that ID equals 100, which we had in the previous case, so that in both cases we could be setting it right from the main. So now switching over to the main, I will now like to say employee 1, initial ID will be 123, and employee 2, your initial ID will going to be 124. Now let's test this program. And as you can see in the output, that using the setter methods, we were able to successfully change the values of each instances. However, this approach is the only approach in other programming languages, will work just fine in C Sharp, but C Sharp programmers rather prefer to work with the concept of a property. So a property is a member of a class. Now I'm giving you the actual C Sharp terminologies. So ID number is what? It is called field in C Sharp. So a property is a member of a class that provides access to a field of a class. That is the definition of the word property. Again, a property is a member of a class that provides access to a field of a class, and this access generally is used for as a getter to get the value and setter to set the value. So we are now back in the employee.cs, and we will simply get rid of the setter and the getter calls. Again, doing this will going to cause some errors here. So we're going to get rid of these lines that we had before. Now we will going to tackle this problem with a property so that you learn how to declare a property. So right after the field, I will declare a public property, so it's accessible. The property, this is the type, ID number, and this property has a getter, which is written like a code block like this, and a setter, which is written like a code block like this. The job of the getter is to return a field, and a job of a setter is to assign field a value. Again, the word value is a keyword in C Sharp. So whenever you use the name of a property equals to any kind of a value, that value will be passed over to value, which will then assign it to ID number, which is the class field. It is now time to test to see how this will work, but before we do that, we need to scroll down to our info method and change this to the property ID number, which we wrote with an uppercase I versus ID number with a lowercase I for the field, just so that we are pulling data right from the property instead of from the field. Okay, now coming back here, instead of the old approach, now I can simply say emp1 dot, okay, notice in the list, I now have an ID number. ID number equals to 1, 2, 3, 4. emp2 dot ID number equals to 3, 4, 5, 6. Now let's run this program. So since ID number, which is a property, is used on the left-hand side of equals, both of these values will be assigned to the value which will then be used inside a setter. Down here, ID number is used inside an output statement, so it will automatically call its getter, which will return the field ID number. Okay, make sure you save your changes before you run this program, because otherwise it will ask you anyway, would you like to save the changes? So it's always a good idea to do that. And again, notice the values 1, 2, 3, 4 and 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are the values that we gave to each of the employee instances. So we were able to successfully use the properties in C#. So now in this tutorial, we learn about the difference between a field and a property, and how you can use a property to access field and change its values. Catch you in the next tutorial. Take care. Bye-bye.